now that you've been in this business for a long time, you've had a lot of time to self-reflect, think about things you've done in the past. So if there's a time machine that would take you back, what would you do different when you became a PhD student or maybe a graduate student? What advice would you give your 30s year younger self?
So the advice I would give if I was a graduate student or ready to do PhD is different than one that I would give for the career part. But the key advice I will give is that you have to understand what will make you successful.
Mm-hmm.
So for the graduate student, at least my experience is that many of these students who apply, especially from international universities, they are and they go by ranking, CS ranking and that kind of stuff, And many of us, Moshe Vardi has written, wonderfully about it, and Malcolm Gladwell went to Google and presented empirical data that a student, a very good student at a mediocre university is better than a mediocre student at a very good, highly ranked university, right? So the point is that what makes you successful is that first you need to understand the most significant correlation you have for your success is your advisor. Meaning you can go to two universities, one is better ranked than the other one, but the one lower ranked has an advisor who is going to work to make you successful, not you working to make the advisor successful.
Right.
And that advisor has a better track record of making his students, for his graduating students than this other one. I had faculty from top ranked universities sending their students to do postdoc with me, or saying that, can you take my PhD student as a postdoc? He's not quite ready for big time. From much better ranked university. But the point here is, so basically, your advisor is has the best correlation to your success, not the rank of university. So it is the advisor, his lab or ecosystem, followed by the program, followed by the university ranking. So that you have to understand that. So that will be the main thing I would do, because you need to talk to the students of this potential advisor and his past students to get real understanding as to how the thing works.
Right.
Is it not just technical topic, but that you can work in, but whether it's a supporting environment, whether there will be success and failures, whether it's a positive environment, not a toxic environment. You need to figure those things out, and these are extremely critical. When I went for when I was in my last year of bachelor's at BITS Pilani, and I had already decided to go for PhD directly, not master's, because I had worked with many PhDs, and so I knew what the difference was. I simply went to the library. In this case, we didn't have internet, and looked at the papers published in my area of interest, in those days, database, and I found two most published database faculty.
Right.
One was at Ohio State, other was at Wisconsin, Madison. And I applied to both of them. I could have gone to either of them. But when I went to where I did, I found out that this advisor is toxic. He doesn't, his students are not happy with him. And so it didn't make sense to work, although he also left after 1 year of my joining. So anyway, that problem was solved. But that was the wrong, I just did not have the understanding of how should I select, where I had to go. I mean, those were the two top universities in database in those days. So I could have gone to many places, I think. And I was lucky. I had a letter of support from the chairman of Indian Space Research Organization or somebody. I won't go into that long story, but, I had something that others did not. Right? I mean, people may have professors letter, but I. that is, understanding that how are you going to navigate to the destination you want is very important. That will allow you to have fewer detours. Or about my own self, if I not talking about the students who are going for PhD or something. For my own self, I would have, suppose in my first job, it would have been good if I knew that what I am really looking for in my career is independence. That I could not, so I went to industry lab first. When I graduated, it was more prestigious to go to some of the top industry labs than to go to academia. But eventually I moved to academia after 9 years. If I knew myself, but if I did not know that independence is such an important thing for me. So when what happened was that in one of my, in my third job, I was invited to give a talk at a conference, and they were paying for my trip. But for my trip approval, my manager had to approve, and she will ask for these questions, why I should. I mean, you are a research lab, and my going and giving invited talk will give the research lab a industry research lab presence, and but yet this bureaucracy and all that. I won the project as a PI without any help from the my company, and then my manager wanted to control who will work on my project. And try to and always presented the results of my project to the management. And I said, who wants that? If I am able to get my own funds, why should I not do that in academia and run my own show? So understanding that would have been valuable for me, and I would have spent less time. But on the other hand, it did work out as a whole because of that mix of industry research and creating industry products. Doing startups and building that and hiring and all the other things that you get from a startup, and of course academia, that has given I think this ecosystem, my lab and my students, unique advantage.
So
The
it was
other
a
day,
blessing in disguise, I'd say, right?
yeah,
It was a blessing in disguise.
yeah, it was. The other day, a PhD, former PhD student who has co-founded a unicorn was in New York to meet the customers. He chose to fly on his own dime for the whole day to Colombia and spend a day. So my students can ask in person, well, how did he initially worked for industry lab, and then he started this company, and he's just very successful. Some students want to do entrepreneurship or startup at some point. So they can have direct access to this kind of experience. And anyway, this the breadth of the kind of things that we can do. 3 of the 4 companies that I founded, they have been incubated in my lab with the federal research funding, with involvement of students. So students are co-inventors of the IP that was licensed to do the company, and they economically also benefited. So that kind of experience, could be very valuable.
Excellent. So if I summarize, your advice to a 30-year younger self would be know what you're passionate about, where you want to be, and then also identify what is it unique about yourself and put those 2 things together.
Yes, well said.